The truck missed me, the refrigerator tied to its roof did not, and 3 days later a golden crystal in another world swallowed 600 experience points without giving me a single level. The number 1 burned above my head. 300 applicants stood in the Hall of Awakening. They had watched me kill 6 iron wolves and carry an injured boy across the finish line. Now the crystal gave Dargo 6 levels and gave me nothing. Silence held for 1 breath. Then Dargo laughed. He stood with the nobles in silver armor polished brightly enough to guide ships at night. 600 experience and still level 1, he said. That is not bad luck. That is a talent for failure. The noble students laughed with him. A few common students looked away. The injured boy I had carried opened his mouth, but Dean Havel raised one hand. The crystal is never wrong, Havel said. He was a narrow man with gray hair and a voice made for closing doors. He touched the crystal again. Golden letters moved inside it, but he stood between me and the light. Aaron has no growth, he announced. His trial score is invalid. The 6 iron wolves will be credited to the nearest functioning combatant. Dargo placed a hand on his chest. I accept this burden. The laughter grew louder. I looked at the ranking board. My name fell from 7th place to last. Dargo rose from 4th to 1st. My reward, dormitory bed, and meal allowance moved with my score. It was theft with pretty golden light around it. Dean Havel, a girl said from the 2nd row. Aaron killed those wolves. Her name was Lisa. She was thin, dark-haired, and still pale from the trial. A torn sleeve covered the bandage on her left arm. She had fought beside me for less than 10 minutes. That made her the only person in the hall willing to speak. Havel did not look at her. Lisa, your own level is 2. I suggest you protect your scholarship before you protect a defective stranger. Her jaw tightened. Dargo smiled at her. You can protect it in the arena. I still need an opponent for the final combat place. Everyone understood. If Lisa refused, Havel could remove her scholarship. If she accepted, a level 6 noble would fight a level 2 commoner before the school. Havel turned back to me. As a summoned outsider, you cannot return through the gate. The academy will not waste food on you. You may choose 1 rejected class and leave before sunset. A servant rolled out a wooden cart. 3 dull class stones lay on it. The choices were mud carrier, candlekeeper, and experience banker. When Havel read its public description, even the servant laughed. All experience earned by the holder is removed before it can increase his level, Havel said. The class grants no weapon skill, no spell, and no physical growth. Dargo wiped a false tear from his eye. Perfect. He can fail forever without changing. I walked to the cart. Experience banker sounded like a hole with a name, but I had worked nights in a warehouse. When inventory vanished, it had gone somewhere. 600 experience was too exact to be nothing. I placed my hand on the 3rd stone. Cold light entered my palm. The public crystal repeated that I would never gain a normal level. The hall laughed again. Under the laughter, a quiet voice spoke only to me. It said my hidden balance was 600 experience. At the academy rate, that balance could become 6 transferable levels. I did not smile. Smiling before checking the conditions was how people bought broken carts. I could lend experience to a willing ally for 1 agreed task. Success returned the levels with a reward based on real danger. Failure destroyed my investment. I could not force a loan, lend to myself, or change the task later. 1 class, 1 broken rule. In this world, experience belonged to the person who earned it. Kings could tax gold, land, blood, and grain, but not a single point of experience. My useless class could move it from one person to another. Havel saw me standing still and mistook calculation for shock. "Remove him," he ordered. 2 guards took my academy badge. One pushed my travel bag into my arms. It held a spare shirt, a cracked cup, and no money. Dargo tossed 1 copper coin at my feet. "For a candle," he said. The coin rang against the stone. I left it there. That bothered him more than an insult. Outside, applicants gathered around a chalk sketch of me holding a candle while Dargo killed 6 wolves with 1 hand. I walked past the crowd and entered the abandoned practice yard behind the kitchens. I needed a borrower. More than that, I needed one who could complete a task. 6 levels did not make me strong. They made me responsible for choosing who became strong. I placed my bag beside a broken training post. I had 6 levels, no coins, no allies, and a body that could lose a fight with an angry chair. "You forgot lunch." Lisa stood in the archway. She held 2 hot meat buns wrapped in brown paper. I never received lunch, I said. Then the academy forgot it before you did. She gave me one bun. The bread was soft, and hot juice ran from the peppered beef inside. I had died under a refrigerator, woken in a monster forest, and eaten cold roots for 3 days. That bun was the first convincing proof that the new world had benefits. Lisa sat on the low wall. Dargo scheduled the duel for the last bell. He wants an audience. He sold reserved seats. I looked at her bandaged arm. And you accepted. If I refuse, Havel removes my scholarship. If I lose, Dargo takes my combat place. My mother cannot pay academy fees. She said it without asking for pity. I respected that. Why did you defend me in the hall? I asked. Because you turned back for Pavo during the trial. Everyone else ran for the finish line. You gave him your healing potion, carried him, and still killed the wolves. That cost me 7th place. No, Havel cost you 7th place. She saw the difference. That mattered. I finished the bun and brushed flour from my hands. What would you do with 5 more levels? Lisa stared at me. Borrow Dargo's horse and escape. The horse has better armor than we do. Think bigger. She gave a short laugh, then saw that I was serious. I used simple numbers. I had 6 levels. I could lend her 5 and keep 1. She would rise from 2 to 7 for the duel. Victory returned 7 levels. Failure cost me 5 forever. What do you take from me? She asked. Nothing. The borrowed levels vanish after the task. Any normal experience you earn remains yours. And if I run away? I become poorer. Can you punish me? No. Can you force me to accept? No. Her eyes narrowed. That is a terrible business model. It encourages careful hiring. She stood and held out her hand. Then hire me. The moment I touched her palm, the voice asked whether Lisa accepted 5 temporary levels to defeat Dargo in the official academy duel before the last bell. I repeated every term aloud. Lisa said yes. 500 experience left my hidden bank. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the dust around her boots jumped. Lisa inhaled sharply. Her bandaged arm straightened. Color returned to her face. The weak pulse of energy around her body became a hard silver glow. Her level rose from 2 to 7. Lisa drew her cheap sword and cut the old iron training post. The top half of the post slid off. It hit the ground with a sound like a dropped cooking pot. The kitchen door opened. The cook stared at the post, stared at Lisa, and slowly pulled his head back inside. 1 witness, I said. He will tell the whole kitchen. Then we have 20 witnesses. Lisa looked at her hands. Joy tried to rise in her face, but fear held it down. I feel faster, she said. Stronger. My energy channels are wider. Your sword skill did not change. She tested 3 steps, turned, and stopped exactly beside the fallen post. Good, she said. My sword skill was never the problem. 5 levels given to a fool would create a larger fool. Given to Lisa, they removed the chain from an already sharp blade. We had 2 hours before the duel. I watched her repeat Dargo's favorite opening strike. I had seen him use it during the trial. He raised his right shoulder before every charge. His armor protected his chest but slowed his left turn. His family sword skill produced 1 heavy burst, then left his feet still for half a breath. Lisa practiced attacking that half-breath. By the last bell, every arena seat was full. Students stood on walls and servants watched through kitchen windows. The ranking crystal hung above the ring. Dargo entered first. He wore new blue cloth over his silver armor. 2 attendants carried his sword. The applause from the noble seats sounded rehearsed because it was. Then Lisa entered in her patched uniform with 1 cheap blade. The crystal showed her level. 7. The arena went silent. Dargo stopped halfway through his salute. Havel rose from the judge's platform. This is impossible. The crystal is never wrong, I said from the front row. The common seats exploded with laughter. Havel's face tightened. Dargo looked from him to me. You cheated, Dargo said. You accepted 6 wolves you did not kill, Lisa replied. I thought you liked free advantages. That laughter was louder. Dargo had a reason to fight now beyond a scholarship. He needed to repair his pride in front of everyone who had rented a seat. Havel could have stopped the duel. Instead, he saw Dargo's expensive armor and Lisa's cheap sword. He expected noble training to beat a sudden increase in strength. Begin, he ordered. Dargo crossed the ring in 3 steps. His opening strike split the ground where Lisa had stood. Stone fragments struck the barrier. The noble seats cheered too early. Lisa had moved left. She struck the back of his knee. Her dull blade did not cut the armor, but the impact folded his leg. Dargo caught himself and spun. The The silver edge of his sword passed close enough to cut 3 strands of her hair. He was not weak. He had trained since childhood, and fear made him careful. He changed his stance. Lisa smiled. Dargo used short strikes and forced her toward the edge. Lisa blocked twice. Her cheap sword cracked. A third blow knocked it from her hand. The noble seats stood as one. Dargo raised his sword for the finish. Lisa stepped inside his reach. She caught his armored wrist with both hands, turned under his arm, and used his own speed. Dargo flew over her shoulder. He hit the sand face first. His sword landed beside mine in the front row. Lisa kicked it back into the ring. "Pick it up," she said. The common students began to chant her name. Dargo rose with sand stuck to his lips. His face had become the same color as the cloth over his armor. He grabbed the sword and released his family skill. Blue light covered the blade. The strike carried enough force to break a stone wall. Lisa waited. His right shoulder lifted. She moved before the blade fell. One step took her past his right side. A second placed her behind him. She struck the clasp at the back of his breastplate with the broken half of her sword. The silver armor opened. The heavy chest plate dropped around Dargo's ankles. He tried to turn, stepped into his own armor, and fell on his back. For a heartbeat, nobody made a sound. Then even the servants on the kitchen roof began to laugh. Dargo lay in the sand wearing blue silk, one metal boot, and the expression of a man betrayed by furniture. Lisa placed the broken sword against his throat. "Yield." He looked at the crystal. It still showed level 7 above her and level 6 above him. He looked at the crowd. Refusing would only make the picture last longer. "I yield." The ranking board flashed. Lisa took the final combat scholarship. Dargo fell from 1st place to 5th because his stolen wolf score was placed under review. 30 silver coins from the public wager moved into my empty purse. The voice inside me announced that the agreed task had succeeded. 5 temporary levels left Lisa. Her body returned to level 2 for a moment. Then the experience from defeating Dargo settled into her, and her true level rose to 3. 7 levels returned to my bank. I had kept 1. I now held 8. 5 had gone out. 7 had come back. The first law of this world had broken before 300 witnesses. Havel came down from the platform. He looked at Lisa, then at me, then at the ranking crystal as if he hoped one of us would disappear. "Temporary enhancement is not a recognized class function," he said. The crowd quieted enough to listen. I held up my new class stone. "Then recognize it. You are still level 1. And Dargo is still in his underwear." The kitchen roof shook with laughter. Dargo grabbed the fallen chest plate and covered himself. His attendants rushed into the ring. Havel could not punish me without admitting that the duel had been false. Too many people had watched. The crystal had recorded every second. Havel returned my temporary visitor badge. He did not return my dormitory bed or the 2 gold reward. "Your class will be reviewed tomorrow," he said. "Until then, you have no academy status." "But he has my sponsorship," Lisa said. That surprised both of us. She held up the scholarship token she had just won. Academy law allowed each combat scholar to register 1 support partner. The ranking board accepted my name. I moved from expelled failure to provisional support member in less than 1 hour. Experienced banker appeared beside my level. By evening, the whole academy had heard that I could lend levels. Lisa and I escaped to the smallest dining room behind the kitchen. We spent 2 silver coins on dinner. The cook who had seen the iron post gave us portions meant for guards. The beef broth was dark and rich. Wide noodles filled the bowls. There were pieces of carrot, sweet onion, and meat soft enough to break with a spoon. Garlic butter melted over hot bread. For dessert, we split a baked apple covered in honey and crushed nuts. Lisa ate in silence for the first minute. Then she pointed her spoon at me. 8 levels. 8 levels, I confirmed. And 28 silver left. You count my money? I need to know whether my support partner can afford breakfast. At this rate, I can afford 14 more dinners. 13. You need a room. The cook heard her and offered me the attic above the old storage room for 10 silver a week. It had 1 narrow bed, 1 chair, and a window that faced a brick wall. After 3 nights in a monster forest, it looked like a royal palace with poor planning. Lisa helped carry my bag upstairs. She placed the cracked cup on the sill as if it were valuable. "You did not ask me to speak in the hall," she said. "No. You did not ask me to sponsor you." "No. Do you ever ask for help?" "I offer terms." She laughed. It was quieter than the crowd and meant more. "Then here are mine," she said. "Do not disappear before breakfast." She held out her hand. I shook it. Accepted. The 9th bell rang across the academy. The scholarship token on Lysa's wrist turned black. She gasped and grabbed the edge of the table. Thin red lines spread from the token across her skin. I caught her hand. My class reacted before I could ask what was wrong. The voice no longer spoke about my bank. It announced an outside claim against her experience. Lysa owed 10 levels to an unnamed creditor. Payment was due in 4 days. I asked what happened if the debt was not paid. The answer came in one cold sentence. The creditor had registered Lysa's soul as collateral. The black mark vanished from Lysa's wrist after 1 minute. The debt did not. She sat on the edge of my narrow bed while I checked the scholarship token again. To my eyes, it looked like plain bronze. To my class, it felt like a hand waiting inside a closed door. I never borrowed 10 levels, Lisa said. Did you sign anything when you entered the academy? 9 pages. Did you read them? Yes. Did Havel let you keep a copy? Her expression answered for her. We went to the records hall before sunrise. The clerk saw the black stain around Lysa's token and locked the archive door from the inside. 10 minutes later, a notice appeared on the main board. It summoned me to a public class review at breakfast. The academy had learned one lesson from the duel. If it planned to rob me, it wanted better chairs for the audience. The review took place on the dining hall steps. More than 200 students crowded the courtyard. Some wanted to see me punished. More wanted to ask for levels. They shouted offers as I passed. One noble promised me a silver coin if I raised him above his older brother. A girl wanted 12 levels to frighten her landlord. One boy offered half a chicken and a very loyal dog. I refused all of them. I had 8 levels, and 7 had come from one person keeping her word. My first profit had not made me rich. It had made careless people visible. Dargo stood beside Havel with a dark bruise across his chin. His silver armor had new straps. He no longer looked like a walking mirror. He looked like a mirror someone had dropped. Havel raised my class stone for the crowd. No record of experienced banker exists in the Royal Class Index, he said. Yesterday's duel may have involved an illegal potion or a concealed curse, students murmured. The ranking crystal had confirmed every level, but doubt was cheap. Havel was giving it away for free. What test would satisfy you? I asked. He had expected anger. The prepared lines in his face had nowhere to go. A field verification, he said. You and Lysa will escort 12 first-year applicants into the West Quarry, bring back the core of the bronze stone boar, and return every applicant before the 7th bell. A new notice appeared above us. It listed the reward as 4 gold coins. If we succeeded, my class would receive provisional registration. If we failed, I would be expelled beyond the city wall, and Lysa would lose her scholarship. The quarry is a training site, Havel said. Surely a level 7 swordswoman has nothing to fear. She is level 3, I said. The 5 levels were alone. The courtyard erupted again. Some students had believed I permanently created levels. Others believed Lysa had eaten Dargo's strength. Watching a rumor die was almost as satisfying as watching Dargo fall, but it made less noise. Havel smiled. Then perhaps yesterday was your only miracle. I read the notice twice. The terms were public. The witnesses were ready. 4 gold was more than I could earn in months at level 1. I accept, I said. Lisa accepted beside me. Havel ordered 12 applicants forward. Pavo was among them. He was the injured boy I had carried during the entrance trial. He had reached level 1 as a healer, which meant he could close a small cut and then needed a nap. I saw Aaron kill the wolves, Pavo announced. Havel's eyes became thin. Pavo swallowed but continued. I will enter the quarry with him. The crowd heard. My status moved another small step. Yesterday I had needed Lysa to say I was not a fraud. Today someone else volunteered before I asked. At the quarry gate I offered Lysa a second contract. I had 8 levels. I would lend 7 and keep 1. Her true level was 3, so she would enter at level 10. Her task was to retrieve the target core and bring all 12 applicants out alive before the 7th bell. The voice promised 12 levels in return. I stopped before repeating the final term. A normal bronze quarry was not dangerous enough to turn 7 into 12. Lysa saw my face. What is wrong? The interest is too high. Pavo blinked. High interest is good. Only after we survive. Havel stood 30 steps away with 2 academy guards. He was smiling. I looked at the sealed stone gate, the old rail tracks entering the dark, and the emergency flare tied to our supply bag. The task description is false, I said quietly. There is something worse than a stone boar inside. Lisa did not step back. How much worse? Enough to pay 5 extra levels. She held out her hand. Then we should collect them. I repeated the full contract before the 12 applicants. Lisa agreed freely. 7 levels left my bank, and her strength rose from 3 to 10. The group reacted as if sunlight had entered the tunnel. Pavo touched the silver energy around her sleeve and pulled his fingers back. "Can you lend me one?" he asked. "Not under this class," I said. "One borrower at a time." "That is unfair. Tell the system after we return." The stone gate opened. Havel gave us one final instruction. "Do not damage Academy property." I looked at the quarry. "I value people more than property." "That is why you are poor." The gate shut behind us. For the first half hour, the quarry looked harmless. Blue lamps marked the main tunnel. Wooden braces held the ceiling. Empty ore carts waited on rusted rails. The applicants whispered about Lisa's level and watched me as if coins might fall from my sleeves. We found the first sign near a broken lamp. The stone boar's training pen had been opened from the outside. Its tracks ended beside a pool of black blood. Pavo knelt near the marks. Something ate it. A roar rolled through the tunnel. Dust fell from the wooden braces. The emergency flare in our supply bag cracked by itself. Instead of sending a rescue signal, it released a cloud of gray smoke and died. Havel had given us a stone that could not call for help. The applicants began to panic. I raised one hand. "Count yourselves." They stared at me. "Do it." They counted from 1 to 12. Simple work gave fear somewhere to go. "Stay in pairs. Pavo stays in the middle. Nobody runs past a blue lamp unless I say so." The roar came again, closer. Then the cave troll entered the light. It was level 18. Its shoulders scraped both tunnel walls. Gray skin covered muscle as thick as tree roots, and one iron collar hung around its neck. It looked like a wardrobe that had learned to punch and had become proud of the skill. One applicant screamed. The troll charged. Lisa met it before it reached the group. Her sword struck its forearm and cut less than an inch. The troll swung. She jumped back, but the air from the blow threw her into a brace. Wood cracked. The ceiling shifted. Level 10 was not enough to win directly. I had 12 frightened students, 4 oil lamps, 3 lengths of safety chain, 1 loaded ore cart, and a healer who could close a small cut. It was not a heroic army. It was inventory. "Back to the rail slope," I ordered. Lisa struck the troll's face and ran after us. The monster followed. Each step shook loose more stone. 2 applicants wanted to scatter into side tunnels. Pavo grabbed their collars. "He came back for me," he shouted. "You can follow him for 1 minute." They did. At the top of the slope, I split the group. 6 pushed the ore cart against its brake. 4 tied safety chain between the support posts. Pavo kept the last 2 from fainting. I poured lamp oil over the rails. "Havel said not to damage property," Lisa said as she reached us. "We will apologize to the rails." The troll appeared below. I told Lisa where to cut. She ran down the slope alone. The watching applicants stopped breathing. Through the quarry crystal above the gate, Havel and the students outside could see her do it. The troll raised both arms. Lisa slid between its legs and cut the tendon behind its right ankle. Silver energy entered the wound. The monster dropped to one knee, but its hand caught the back of her coat. It lifted her from the ground. Pavo shouted her name. Lisa twisted and drove her sword through the troll's fingers. It released her and charged up the oily tracks. I waited until both feet crossed the chain. Now, the applicants pulled. The chain rose. The injured leg struck it first. The troll fell forward and hit the rails with its chin. 6 students released the ore cart. It rolled down the slope. The iron box hit the troll's back hard enough to bend both rails. The monster roared and reached for me. Its fingers closed around my ankle. I weighed less than its breakfast. It dragged me down the slope. Lisa attacked its wrist. The troll struck her away with the other hand. My shoulder hit stone, and white light filled my eyes. Pavo ran from the group. He pressed both hands to my chest and used his only healing spell. Warmth moved through my ribs. It did not make me strong, but it kept me awake. "Small cut," he said through clenched teeth. "Very small." The troll pulled again. I grabbed the release pin beneath the ore cart and kicked it loose. The cart's load of broken iron drills poured over the troll. One struck its wounded ankle. Another pinned its hand beside my leg. Lisa. She was already moving. She ran along the tilted cart, stepped on the troll's shoulder, and drove her sword through its left eye. The blade entered the core behind the skull. The roar stopped. For 2 seconds, the quarry was silent. Then 12 applicants shouted at once. The stone gate opened. The Academy crystal had recognized the kill. Lisa's borrowed levels left her. 7 went out of the contract and 12 returned to me. The 1 level I had kept raised my bank to 13. The troll's normal experience entered Lysa. Her true level rose from 3 to 5. Pavo gained enough support experience to reach level 2. Our strength had grown twice. My bank held 13 levels, and my allies no longer returned to the same place after a loan. We cut the troll core free. It was the size of a melon and far too valuable for a bronze training site. All 12 applicants walked out with us. The yard beyond the gate was packed. Students filled the quarry road. Servants had left the kitchens again. City adventurers stood near the outer fence after hearing that a silver rank monster had appeared inside an academy trial. Havel waited beside the ranking crystal. He looked at the core and lost the smile he had carried all morning. "That is not the assigned target," he said. "It ate the assigned target," Pavo replied. The 12 applicants laughed. Pavo looked shocked by his own courage. Havel reached for the core. Lisa moved it out of his reach. "The task was corrupted," Havel announced. "No reward can be issued until an internal review." The ranking crystal flashed above him. It replayed the troll entering the tunnel. Then it displayed the iron collar around the monster's neck. A seal had been burned into that collar. It was Havel's academy seal. The crowd saw it. The crystal changed the quarry from bronze rank to silver rank. It confirmed that every applicant had returned alive. My team rose to first place on the field board. Students began shouting for the reward. The city adventurers joined them. They cared less about me than about an academy dean hiding silver monsters in a training tunnel, but anger did not need to love me to be useful. Havel could not erase a crystal record before so many witnesses. He took 4 gold coins from his belt and dropped them into my hand. "Provisional registration," he said. "Nothing more." 4 gold, I said. 13 levels. First place. That is enough for one morning. The crowd repeated the numbers. By noon, those numbers were written on every public board in the academy. The level 1 failure had entered a silver quarry and returned with all 12 students. Havel had sent us to die and paid us for surviving. Dargo read the notice in silence. When we crossed the central yard, students moved aside for us. The same people who had laughed at my candle class now repeated the return of 12 levels as if it were a secret spell. 3 combat teams asked for contracts. 2 offered gold in advance. I refused them because I knew nothing about their skill or their promises. That refusal spread even faster than the victory. By sunset, the academy no longer called me a desperate fraud. It called me an expensive fraud, which was clear progress. The 12 quarry applicants placed their names beneath mine on the public board. Each wrote the same 2 words. All returned. Havel ordered the message erased. The clerk erased it once. The applicants wrote it again in letters large enough to see from the noble dormitory. This time, the watching crowd stopped the clerk from touching it. That evening, I paid 10 silver for 1 week in the attic. Lysa bought beef, potatoes, carrots, and 2 onions for 3 more. Pavo brought a round loaf from the healer dormitory. We cooked the stew on the small iron stove. Beef browned in butter before Lysa added onions. Potatoes softened in the dark broth. The smell filled the attic and escaped under the door until the cook came upstairs with 3 bowls and stayed for dinner. The bread had a hard crust and a warm center. Butter melted into it. After 3 servings, Pavo leaned against the wall and announced that level 2 healing required more food than level 1 healing. I counted the remaining money. 4 gold and 15 silver. "You spent nothing on yourself," Lisa said. "I bought a week of ceiling." She looked up. Rain had begun to tap the roof. "A strong investment." Pavo set his empty bowl down. "I owe you my life twice." The bronze token on his wrist turned black. He froze. I touched the mark. My class found a second outside claim. Pavo owed 10 levels to the same unnamed creditor. His soul was the same collateral. Then a red pulse crossed the academy. It moved through the dormitory below us, through the dining halls, and across every tower. Hundreds of students cried out. Every admission token had awakened at once. My class counted the claims. There were 300 debtors. The academy owed 3,000 levels. Payment was due in 3 days. If it failed, the creditor would collect 300 souls. By sunrise, every student knew the price of his own soul. 10 levels. Some cried, some shouted that the tokens had to be wrong. The noble students sent servants to buy level potions. The common students gathered outside my attic because they had heard I owned 13 levels and had confused a bank with a charity. 300 debtors filled the yard below my window. I opened it and told them the truth. I have 13 levels, the debt is 3,000. I cannot lend what I do not have. Then make more, someone shouted. Give us each one, another called. One borrower at a time, I said. One real task. Failure destroys the loan. Fear did not like arithmetic. The crowd shouted over it. Lysa climbed onto the roof beside the window and struck the tiles once with the flat of her sword. The sound silenced the yard. He risked his levels for me because he knew I could finish the task, she said. Yesterday, he risked them again to bring 12 people home. If you want his help, stop treating his life like a bag of free coins. The students looked at me differently after that. Lysa had not called me powerful. She had reminded them that my power could be lost. A clear female voice came from the back of the crowd. 13 cannot cover 3,000, but capital can grow. The students parted. Mela walked through them carrying a red leather ledger. Her green coat bore the gold wheel of the largest trading guild in the city. She was young, but the two older merchants behind her waited for her to choose where they stood. She stopped below my window. Aaron, I offer breakfast and information. What does breakfast cost? Attention. Expensive. The cheese bread is fresh. I came downstairs. Mela took Lysa, Pavo, and me to a market stall outside the academy wall. Hot flatbread came from a clay oven with white cheese melted across the center. We ate it with smoked sausage, sliced pears, and strong tea. The meal cost 5 silver. I paid because information received with free food often became very expensive later. Mela opened her ledger between the plates. The academy began sending experience certificates to the capital 8 years ago, she said. At first, it sold the future growth of graduating adventurers. 2 years ago, it added current students. This year, it pledged admission tokens. Souls, Lysa said. The public copy never uses that word. The payment route ends at the Royal Advancement Office. The final creditor is hidden. Why do you care? I asked. The academy owes my guild 40,000 gold. If a creditor takes the students, enrollment ends. If enrollment ends, the academy cannot repay us. Pavo stopped chewing. So you want to save us for money? Yes. He waited for a softer answer. None came. I liked Mela immediately, in the same way I liked an accurate scale. No affection was required. It simply needed to tell the truth about what was placed on it. The original debt record is sealed, she continued. A royal lender may inspect it. A city guild lender may demand a copy during a default. You are neither. Not yet. Mela pushed a convoy license toward me. 8 medicine wagons leave for the North Clinic at noon. They need a guard through Red Pass. Deliver all 8 before sunset, and my guild will register your class as an independent lending trade. The reward is 36 gold. Lysa read the route. Red Pass is a copper road. Usually. Why 36 gold? Because someone told 3 trade houses not to hire Aaron. I want the person who fears him to watch me do it. The academy bells rang before I could answer. 4 guards entered the market. Havel walked behind them with a seizure order in his hand. He read it aloud before the stall owners and students. My 4 gold from the quarry had been declared evidence of unlawful class activity. The guards took the coins from my purse and left me 15 silver. Havel saw the convoy license. The guild cannot register a class under academy review. Mela wiped cheese from her ledger. Trade law allows a public field proof. If the class fails, your guild branch loses its north route. If it succeeds, the academy returns every seized coin and recognizes the license. Havel looked at me. A level 1 support member guarding 8 wagons. This should be brief. The market had become our witness. Merchants leaned from windows. Students climbed onto carts. Mela placed her guild seal on the license. Havel placed his academy seal beside it. I accepted. The terms appeared on the city trade crystal. 8 wagons had to reach the clinic before sunset. Every driver had to survive. 36 gold waited at the north gate. My license and Mela's route depended on success. Havel smiled as if he had already attended our funeral. That expression settled my last doubt. At the first wagon, I offered Lysa 12 levels. My bank held 13, so 1 would remain. Her true level was 5. The loan would raise her to 17. The promised return was 24. Double. Red Pass had not produced a serious attack in 6 months. The published task did not deserve that reward. Another lie, Lysa said. A larger one. Mela heard us. Can we choose another route? Not without failing the public contract. Can we delay? Not beyond sunset. She closed the ledger. Then tell me what to buy. We spent the remaining 10 silver on 2 coils of rope, 6 extra oil jars, and a sack of white flour. The drivers laughed at the flour. Mela did not. She ordered it placed in the lead wagon. Lysa voluntarily accepted the 12 levels before 40 merchants and drivers. Silver energy rose around her. Her level climbed from 5 to 17. The public trade crystal recorded it. The crowd no longer laughed. Several merchants began calculating aloud. The convoy left at noon. Red Pass cut between 2 walls of dry red stone. The road was wide enough for 1 wagon. A shallow river ran far below the eastern edge. There were only 2 places where 8 wagons could turn. I marked both as we passed. Pavo rode in the 4th wagon with the medical crates. Mela sat beside the lead driver and checked our speed every quarter hour. Lisa moved along the convoy on foot. At level 17, she could run faster than the horses without breathing hard. We found the roadblock at the narrowest point. 3 dead trees lay across the pass. 20 armed raiders stood above them. Their leader wore a covered helmet and carried an academy steel sword. "Leave the red ledger and walk away," he called. He did not ask for medicine, horses, or gold. Mela lifted the ledger. "This one?" Every raider looked at it. "Useful," she said and handed it to me. Arrows fell. Lysa became a silver line between the wagons. Her sword knocked 6 arrows aside. Drivers pulled under their seats while Pavo covered the medicine with his body. The raiders charged from both walls. Lysa met their leader in the center of the road. He was level 19, 2 levels above her borrowed strength. His heavy academy style drove her back 3 steps. The other raiders reached the wagons. Mela did not scream. She ordered every driver to release the left horse and keep the right one tied. 8 wagons turned sideways in sequence. Their wooden bodies formed a wall across the road. I gave the first rope to 4 merchants and the second to 4 more. They tied the wagon wheels together. The raiders had expected frightened traders. They met a moving fence with angry people behind it. Pavo healed an arrow wound in a driver's shoulder. His level 2 energy held. The watching merchants saw him remain at his post. Lisa let the raider leader push her near the road edge. He raised his sword for a downward strike. She caught the blade between her guard and broken practice sword, turned it, and sent him over her shoulder. Dargo had taught her that move by losing to it. The leader hit the dirt. His helmet rolled away. He was an academy guard. The merchants recognized him. Shock passed through the convoy. The raiders hesitated, and Lisa struck the weapons from 3 hands before they recovered. Then someone above us cut a chain. A cage hidden behind the western rocks opened. The creature inside unfolded 2 red wings. It was a razor wyvern at level 28. The hired raiders ran first. Their leader shouted that the beast was not part of the plan. The wyvern answered by biting 1 dead tree in half. Its head was narrow, its claws were long, and its mood had the warmth of a knife. Now I understood the promised return. Havel had hired men to steal Mela's records. Someone else had added a monster that could erase every witness. The wyvern jumped from the rocks and struck the wagon wall. 2 wheels broke. Medicine crates spilled across the road. Lysa cut its neck. Her blade opened a line in the scales but did not reach the bone. The tail hit her and threw her through a stack of empty boxes. The drivers watched their only fighter disappear under wood. "Flour," I said. Mela understood first. She cut the sack open and ordered the merchants to fill the oil jars with it. "That is not how lamps work," Pavo said. "Today it is." We lit cloth around the jars. The wyvern drew breath. Red light formed behind its teeth. I counted the wind between the stone walls. "Throw high." 6 burning jars flew above the creature. Lisa burst from the broken boxes and cut them in the air. Flour spread through the narrow pass. The wyvern released fire. The white cloud exploded. Light filled the canyon. The blast did not kill the beast, but it burned the thin skin of both wings. The wyvern fell across the road and slid toward the eastern edge. Its claws caught 1 wagon. The tied wheels held it. Every merchant pulled the ropes. The wagon wall moved 1 foot, then another. The wyvern dragged them toward the drop. Lysa ran along its back. The wounded wings beat around her like burning sails. She reached the neck and drove her sword into the cut she had made before. The blade stopped halfway. Pavo left the shelter of the medicine wagon. He threw the fallen academy sword up to her. Lysa caught it with her free hand. She drove both blades into the wound. The wyvern's core broke. Its claws released the wagon 1 step from the edge. 40 drivers and merchants saw the creature fall into the river below. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Mela looked at the sun. "We have 1 hour." The merchants cheered, repaired 2 wheels with pieces of the dead trees, and loaded every medicine crate. They also tied the captured academy guard to the rear wagon. His helmet, sword, and payment order went into Mela's ledger chest. All 8 wagons reached the North Clinic before sunset. The city trade crystal announced our arrival in every market square. The task succeeded. 12 lent levels left Lysa. 24 returned to my bank. With the one I had kept, my balance reached 25. The Wyvern's experience raised Lisa's true level from 5 to 8. Pavo reached level 3 through healing and support. Then my class changed. The quiet voice called me a level merchant. The rule remained the same. Experience could move only through voluntary task contracts. My new limit allowed one investment to be divided among 3 willing allies. I had not gained a combat skill. I was still level 1. I could now build a team. The North Market was already packed when we arrived. Hundreds had followed the trade crystal. Students stood on roofs. Adventurers blocked the fountain. The 40 convoy witnesses walked behind us, carrying the captured guard and the Wyvern's severed crest. Havel waited beside Headmaster Udrik. Udrik was a broad old man in white robes. He had ignored 2 days of public scandal. Now that a trade route was involved, he had discovered legs. Havel pointed at the prisoner. A guard's sword proves nothing. Mela placed the payment order against the truth crystal. Havel's seal appeared above the square. The captured guard confirmed that Havel had ordered him to steal the red ledger and delay our convoy. He said Havel had not mentioned the Wyvern. That part frightened him more than his own confession. The crowd turned toward Havel. Mela read the result aloud. 8 wagons delivered, 40 witnesses alive, 36 gold owed, 4 seized gold returned, independent lender license granted. The guild clerk placed a bronze license in my hand. Udrik had to attach the academy seal because Havel had signed the public challenge. My wealth became 40 gold. I had 25 stored levels. Lisa stood at level 8. Pavo stood at level 3. My name rose from provisional support member to the City Guild's youngest licensed lender. The market repeated every number. Udrik removed the silver badge from Havel's coat. "You acted alone," the headmaster said loudly. Havel stared at him. Something broke behind his careful face. "Alone?" he shouted. "I kept the noble families paying 50 gold each month. I removed weak names from the board because sponsors do not fund weak names. I protected your academy while you signed away its students." The square became still. Udrik struck Havel with enough force to knock him down the market steps. It did not silence what the crowd had heard. Havel lay beside the fountain while the same students who once laughed at me watched his badge roll through dirty water. He had tried to bury my class to protect the academy's money. Instead, his sabotage had doubled my investment and purchased my license. Enemies were expensive. Well-managed enemies were profitable. Mela took us to the guild hall after the guards arrested Havel. The guild provided a table covered with food. Roast chicken had crisp skin and pepper under it. Buttered rice held sweet carrots and green herbs. There were bowls of thick mushroom sauce, warm rolls, and a berry tart with a thin sugar crust. Pavo ate until his healing robe became tight. Mela made 3 copies of every document while she ate. She did not celebrate until the seals were dry. Lisa placed the last piece of crisp chicken skin on my plate. "A return on your first meal," she said. "The meat bun was yours. Then consider this interest." Our hands touched beside the plate. She did not move hers at once. The guild bell rang outside. Every admission token in the city turned black again. The debt had changed. Payment was now due in 2 days. Before the crowd could gather, a black coach entered the market. It carried the royal crest and no driver. The horses stopped in front of the guild hall by themselves. Zoran stepped out wearing the dark red coat of the Royal Advancement Office. He looked at the students, the captured academy guard, and my new lender license. "I came to prevent a panic," he said. Behind him, the coach door remained open. Hundreds of blank soul contracts lay inside. Zoran faced me. "The academy students are lawful collateral. Your little bank has made their collection necessary." The 4th morning began with royal chains around the academy gates. Zoran's officers closed every exit before breakfast. They covered the public boards with red notices and ordered all 300 students to remain inside. The city gathered beyond the fence. Parents, merchants, and adventurers filled the road until there was no room for another cart. Zoran stood on the Hall of Awakening steps and read the debt aloud. The academy owed 3,000 levels to an unnamed senior lender. The next installment was 100 levels. Failure allowed the lender to claim every soul tied to an admission token. Students shouted that they had never agreed. Udrik walked onto the steps beside Zoran. Your enrollment oath authorized the Academy to use your future growth for public defense, the headmaster said. The North Barrier protects this city from monster tides. Without the original loan, many of your families would be dead. You pledged our souls, Lysa called from the front of the crowd. Udrik looked at the royal officers instead of her. Collateral was required. Fear changed into anger. Zoran raised a hand. His level was 42. And the pressure from it pushed the nearest students back. The kingdom has survived for 8 years because Headmaster Udrik made a difficult choice, he said. One academy cannot place every city at risk by rejecting its lawful duty. That was his motive. If our debt failed publicly, other schools would inspect their tokens, guilds would question their contracts, the royal office would lose control of an economy built on experience that students did not know they had sold. Zoran was not protecting one creditor. He was protecting the silence around 1,000 debts. He called me onto the steps. Transfer your class stone to the Royal Advancement Office, he said. We will appoint you as a state assessor. Your companions will be released from collection, and you will receive 50 gold each month. The crowd listened. What happens to the other students? I asked. The contract proceeds. Then no. His pleasant expression hardened. You cannot repay 3,000 levels. The next payment is 100. You have 25. You noticed. I notice every dangerous asset. People are not assets. Udrik gave a tired laugh. That is a kind belief for a banker. It is not kindness. An asset cannot choose. My class only works with people who can. The students heard that difference. Zoran declared my city license suspended. Royal seals froze my 40 gold in the guild vault. Officers took my bronze lender badge, and Udrik removed my name from the academy board again. The crowd reacted at once. The 12 quarry applicants wrote my name back. Convoy merchants added theirs below it. By the time an officer erased the first line, 20 more appeared. Zoran watched students protect a level 1 name and understood that arresting me would create the panic he claimed to prevent. There is a lawful review, Mela called. She stood on a wagon outside the gate with the red ledger open. During the night, she had found a rule older than the Royal Advancement Office. A licensed trade class could demand a public solvency trial before suspension. If the class produced a positive return under a royal task, the office had to recognize it. The winner received access to any debt affecting the class and a purse of 200 gold. Failure allowed the office to seal the class stone and imprison its holder. Zoran could not refuse before the city without proving that his law was decoration. He looked toward the royal arena. My office has a 3-person advancement team, he said. Defeat them before sunset. The students fell quiet. The lowest royal champion was level 25. Their captain was level 30. Zoran smiled again. You may bring 3 borrowers if you can find them. Lysa stepped beside me. Pavo followed. A third voice came from the noble group. I volunteer. Dargo walked through the crowd without his silver armor. He wore a plain training coat. The bruise on his face had turned yellow, and nobody moved aside for him until he asked. Lysa's hand settled on her sword. You helped Havel steal Aaron's score, she said. I did. You tried to take my scholarship. I did. Why should we trust you? Dargo looked toward a small girl standing behind the noble students. Her admission token was black. My sister entered this year, he said. My father bought my victories because first place decides our inheritance. I let him. I thought losing a rank was the worst thing that could happen to my family. He faced me before the whole academy. I was wrong. I cannot undo it. I can fight. The crowd waited for me to punish him. My class gave me a simpler test. It could not measure regret, but it could confirm free consent. Dargo was willing to risk his life for the task. You receive 8 levels, I said. You follow my plan and protect every spectator, not only your sister. Agreed. The words cost him more pride than his arena loss. That made them valuable. My bank held 25 levels. I kept 1. Lysa accepted 12, raising her from level 8 to level 20. Dargo accepted 8 and rose from level 6 to 14. Pavo accepted 4 and rose from level 3 to 7. The shared task was to win the royal solvency trial and keep the arena spectators alive before sunset. The promised return was 72 levels, 3 times the investment. The public match alone did not justify it. Zoran had hidden something in the arena. I repeated that conclusion before Mela, my 3 borrowers, and the students around us. Dargo looked at Zoran. Can we withdraw? He asked. Yes, I said. until we enter the arena. He held out his hand again. Then I agree. So did Pavo. Lisa had never lowered hers. We had 3 hours to prepare. My money remained frozen, so Mela advanced 40 gold from her guild. We spent 12 on silver wire, 8 on warding salt, 10 on 3 spring traps, and 10 on a reinforced shield for Dargo. If we lost, her branch would lose the money and its north route. You are risking 40 gold on a level 1 man, Pavo told her. Mela checked the receipt. No, I am risking it on 72 levels and 3 people who returned every witness from their last tasks. Before the arena opened, we ate in my attic. Lisa fried potato cakes until their edges turned brown and crisp. Pavo cooked eggs in the same pan. Mela added cold cream, sliced cucumbers, and a pot of chicken broth from the guild kitchen. Dargo sat on the floor because there were only 2 chairs. He stared at the cracked cup on my window. I threw you 1 copper coin, he said. I left it in the hall. I know. A servant returned it to me. A profitable day for you. Pavo choked on his broth. Even Lisa laughed. Dargo did not, but his mouth almost moved. After the meal, Lisa wrapped a leather guard around my injured shoulder. Her fingers were warm and careful. During the match, your bank will hold 1 level, she said. It held 1 during the quarry and convoy. That did not make it sensible. Sensible plans do not pay 300%. She tightened the final knot. If something comes for you, stay behind me. That is the plan. It had better be. The Royal Arena held 5,000 people. Every seat was full. Trade crystals carried the match to the market squares. Students pressed against the front barrier with their black tokens visible. Zoran sat in the judge's tower beside Udrik. The Royal Advancement team entered in red armor. Their captain was level 30. A shield fighter stood at level 28, and a mage stood at level 25. They moved together and showed no fear. Unlike Dargo in our first duel, they had earned their strength. We entered with a level 20 swordswoman, a level 14 noble, a level 7 healer, and me. The crystal displayed my level last. 1. 5,000 voices repeated it. The rules were simple. A team won by forcing all combatants on the other side to yield or leave the ring. Killing was forbidden. Damage to the audience barrier meant disqualification. The signal sounded. The Royal Mage attacked me first. A spear of fire crossed the arena. Lisa cut it apart. Dargo blocked the fragments with his new shield. Pavo cooled the burns on his arm. They had practiced that movement only twice. It worked because each person did one job. The royal captain charged Lisa. Their swords struck 6 times in one breath. The shield fighter tried to separate Dargo. The mage circled for another shot at me. I stayed beside the center mark and counted their steps. The mage needed 4 breaths between large spells. The shield fighter lowered his left side when the captain called an order. The captain watched Lisa's sword, not her feet. Third pattern, I called. Lisa gave ground. Dargo seemed to lose balance. The royal shield fighter rushed through the gap. His boot landed on the first spring trap hidden under the sand. Silver wire closed around both ankles and lifted him upside down. The audience roared. Pavo touched his breastplate and pushed him across the ring boundary. The level 28 fighter was eliminated by a level 7 healer who looked surprised for the second time that week. The royal mage released another fire spear. Dargo reflected it from his reinforced shield into the second patch of silver wire. Light revealed the trap before the captain stepped on it, but that forced him left. Lisa was waiting. She struck his sword from his hand. The common stands began chanting our names. Zoran stood in the judge's tower. He touched a red seal beneath his chair. The center of the arena opened. Black smoke poured through the sand. Something climbed from the pit on 4 long legs. It was level 50. The creature had no skin, only dark plates covered in red contract marks. Chains hung from its mouth. Every black student token pulled toward it. My class recognized a debt hound. The real task had arrived. The hound ignored both teams and ran toward the audience. The royal captain could have pushed Lisa out while she turned away. Instead, he shouted for his team to protect the barrier. Zoran ordered him to continue the match. The captain looked up at his commissioner and lowered his sword. "There are children behind that wall," he said. 5,000 people heard him refuse. The debt hound hit the barrier. A red crack spread across it. Students in the first rows fell backward. Dargo ran between them and the next strike. The black chains hit his shield. Metal folded around his arm, but he stayed upright. His sister was behind him. So were 40 common students he had never met. "All spectators," I reminded him. "I heard you." He pushed the hound back 1 step. Pavo used his level 7 healing on the cracked barrier guards. The royal mage added fire to the ward lines. The captain joined Lysa on the creature's left side. The official match had become a public rescue. Zoran could no longer stop the trade crystals without admitting why. I poured the warding salt into a circle around the center pit. Mela's guild workers pulled silver wire from beneath the spectator wall. 40 gold of preparation rose around the hound. The creature saw me. Its red marks turned toward my hidden bank. It abandoned the students and charged. I was level 1. One touch would end the story and improve the arena floor. I waited inside the salt circle. Lysa shouted my name. The hound crossed the first silver wire. One spring trap closed on its rear leg. It tore free. The second caught its front leg and slowed it for half a breath. That was enough. Dargo struck from the right. The royal captain struck from the left. Their blades opened 2 plates. Lysa came down between them. Her sword entered the red contract mark beneath the creature's neck. The hound stopped 1 arm's length from me. It split apart. Red chains fell across the salt circle and turned to ash. The arena crystal announced that every spectator remained alive. Then the royal captain walked across the ring boundary with his team. "We yield," he said. The arena shook with sound. 24 lent levels left my allies. 72 returned to the bank. With the 1 I had kept, my balance became 73. The battle experience raised Lysa from level 8 to 12. Dargo rose from 6 to 8. Pavo rose from 3 to 5. The crystal displayed every gain above the arena. Strength, money, and reputation all moved at once. Zoran tried to leave the judge's tower. The royal captain blocked the stairs. Mela placed the broken debt hound plate against the truth crystal. Zoran's seal appeared on it. The city saw that he had released a level 50 collector beside 5,000 spectators. "I protected the kingdom's credit," Zoran said. The crowd answered with silence. He had expected them to accept danger hidden inside official words. Instead, they had watched the danger bite their barrier. Royal law forced him to restore my license, unfreeze my 40 gold, and pay the 200 gold purse. I repaid Mela's 40 gold advance. My available wealth became 200 gold, and my guild balance remained clear. The royal lender seal appeared beside my level 1 name. 5,000 people began chanting the number 1. It no longer sounded like an insult. Mela demanded the academy debt record at once. Zoran could not refuse while the truth crystal watched. Udrik handed over a black scroll with shaking fingers. We opened it in the center of the arena. 8 years earlier, Udrik had borrowed experience to power the North Barrier. The original lender had hidden its name. Interest had raised the balance to 3,000 levels. Udrik had attached every admission token as collateral through the enrollment oath. Mela found an older line beneath his signature. If the academy missed an installment, any licensed lender could pay the overdue 100 levels before collection. That lender would take ownership of the entire debt and all attached collateral. "You have 73, Lysa said. "We are short 27, I replied. The final collection would begin at sunset the next day. Black ash rose from the remains of the debt hound. It gathered in the shape of a young woman wearing a plain black coat. Her hair was white, her eyes were red, and her face held no anger or warmth. She looked first at the scroll, then at my class stone. "My name is Naira," she said. "I represent the first creditor." No guard moved. Even Zoran lowered his eyes. Naira confirmed the old clause. 100 levels would purchase the debt before sunset. At sunset, 300 souls would belong to her master. Then she examined the number above my head. "Level 1, she said. For the first time, her expression changed. She smiled. "The first creditor has been waiting for another banker." On the 5th morning, Udrik offered the creditor 50 students. He made the offer in the Hall of Awakening, beneath the same crystal that had declared me useless. All 300 students stood in the hall. Parents and city residents watched through trade crystals in the courtyard. Naira waited beside the black debt scroll without moving. Udrik held a list in both hands. "The contract values an untrained soul at 2 levels, he said. 50 souls will satisfy the overdue payment of 100. The remaining 250 students will be safe while we negotiate." The list held the lowest-ranked commoners, including Lysa, Pavo, and many quarry applicants. Udrik had selected everyone who lacked a powerful family. Zoran stood behind him with 6 royal officers. "The kingdom approves this emergency settlement," he said. 50 losses are preferable to 300. Udrik carried the list to Naira. She did not take it. "The first creditor accepts levels, not excuses," she said. "A soul may be collected only after default. You cannot pay early with property you do not own. Udric's hands shook. He had expected the ancient collector to be less strict than my class. I stepped into the center of the hall. Read the names aloud, I said. Udric stared at me. You called it necessary, I continued. Tell every witness exactly who is necessary. His voice became quieter with each name. Mothers shouted from the courtyard. When he reached Lysa, the hall erupted. The headmaster had chosen its first victor, its healer, and the students Havel had sent into the troll's den. Lysa walked to the platform and tore the list in half. 300 witnesses saw the pieces fall at Udric's feet. You do not own us, she said. The students repeated it. The words struck the walls harder than any spell. Royal officers lowered their hands. The captain from the arena removed the chain from the main door despite Zoran's order. Udric had lost the academy before I bought its debt. Nira turned to me. You still have 73 levels. Anger does not create the missing 27. Risk does. I asked my class to evaluate one final task. At sunset, the failed contract would open the academy core. A debt warden would enter through it and collect the admission tokens. If 3 willing allies defended all 300 students and destroyed the warden before midnight, the task would succeed. I offered 72 levels and kept 1. The promised return was 300. The hall became silent enough to hear the crystal hum. Lysa accepted 40 levels. Her true level rose from 12 to 52. Dargo accepted 20. He rose from 8 to 28. Pavo accepted 12. He rose from 5 to 17. Each agreement was spoken before the academy. Nobody was forced. I repeated the danger, deadline, and cost of failure. If we lose, I said, my 72 levels vanish, and the creditor takes every pledged soul. Pavo looked at the black tokens around us. No pressure. Pressure is why the return is 300. Dargo held out his hand. I agree. Pavo placed his hand over Dargo's. I agree. Lysa placed hers over both. Her eyes remained on me. I agreed before you finished calculating, she said. My bank fell from 73 levels to 1. The 3 borrowers shone beneath the golden crystal. The crowd did not see free power. It saw 3 people accepting a real cost for them. That changed the academy. Students carried supplies. Adventurers offered weapons. Parents brought carts. Convoy merchants came with ropes. The quarry applicants took charge of the lower gates. Mela opened the guild vault. We had 200 gold. We spent 50 on 10 ward stones, 40 on 2 heavy ballistae, 30 on silver chain, 20 on healing medicine, and 10 on food, tools, and replacement bowstrings. The remaining 50 stayed in reserve. Every purchase went on the public board. Merchants reduced prices when they saw their children's black tokens. By noon, the yard looked like a trap built by worried accountants. Zoran tried to seize the ballistae. The royal captain stood in his path. Commissioner, you released a debt hound into an arena full of civilians, he said before the city crystals. My team will protect the students. The other royal fighters joined him. Zoran ordered their arrest. None of his 6 officers moved. Yesterday, he had controlled a royal arena. Today, the crowd watched him step aside while common merchants rolled weapons past his boots. Udric locked himself in his tower. Nobody followed him. At mid-afternoon, Lysa pulled me away from the yard. She took me to the academy kitchen, where the cook had prepared one meal before the battle. Chicken soup steamed in deep bowls. It held soft pieces of meat, celery, carrots, and small noodles. Fresh bread cracked under my fingers. We spread butter over it while it was still hot. A tray of apples baked with cinnamon waited near the stove. Pavo ate 2 bowls. Dargo checked his shield straps. Mela read the defense expenses while eating bread. Nira refused food because representatives did not eat while collecting. That sounds unhealthy, Pavo told her. I am 600 years old, Nira replied. Then it may be too late to change. For a few minutes, the debt felt far away. When the others returned to the yard, Lysa stayed beside me. She divided the last cinnamon apple and gave me the larger half. In the first trial, you went back for Pavo while everyone watched the finish line, she said. You were level 1 before the crystal said it. You still turned back. It was the correct choice. It cost you your rank. Havel cost me my rank. She smiled. That was my answer. Her fingers closed around mine. I did not trust you because you could lend me levels, she said. I borrowed them because I already trusted you. I closed my hand around hers. Come back alive, I said. Those are poor contract terms. They are personal. She leaned close and touched her forehead to mine. Then I accept. At sunset, the academy core opened. The ground split from the Hall of Awakening to the arena. Black light rose through the crack, pulling every admission token toward it. 300 students stood behind the ward line while the city watched. Naira lifted one hand. Collection has begun. The debt warden climbed from the earth. It was level 80. Black armor covered a body twice the height of the doors. 6 red chains moved from its back, each ending in an open metal hand. It looked like a bank vault that had learned to hate. The first chain struck the ward line. 3 stones shattered. The force knocked 50 students down. Pavo spread healing through the line and pulled them back. The second chain reached the noble group. Dargo caught it on his shield. His borrowed strength stopped it, but stone cracked beneath his boots. All spectators, I called. I remember, he shouted. He wrapped the silver chain around the warden's arm and locked it to the western ballista. Mela gave the signal. The first bolt fired. It struck the warden's shoulder and opened one armor plate. Lysa crossed the yard before the sound reached the walls. At level 52, she ran up the hanging chain, landed on its shoulder, and drove her sword into the exposed red seal. The seal broke. The city shouted. The warden swung 3 chains at once. Lysa jumped between them. One cut the roof from a classroom. Another crushed the academy statue. The third struck the eastern ballista before it could fire. Wood and iron flew through the watching crowd. The royal captain raised a barrier with his team. Pavo reinforced it. No spectator died. Every pledged student had to survive. The warden understood and attacked the weakest groups instead of my borrowers. It was not a beast. It was a collector. I divided the students into 6 moving groups, each with 1 ward stone. When a chain turned toward them, they crossed behind the next silver line. For 1 minute the plan held. Then the warden drove both fists into the ground. Black contracts spread across the yard. Red hands rose beneath the students and caught their ankles. Tokens began leaving their wrists. Panic struck the formation. Udrik appeared on his tower balcony. He held the master admission seal. "Stop fighting," he shouted. "Obey the collection, and some may be spared." Mela lifted the truth crystal. The headmaster still controls the token network. Udrik had opened the path under the ward line. He was helping the warden take the students he claimed to protect. Lysa changed direction in the air. Instead of attacking the warden, she struck the tower balcony. Stone exploded beneath Udrik's feet. He dropped the master seal. It fell into the yard. Dargo caught it with one hand. He looked at the man who had sold his sister. Then he broke the seal against his shield. Every red hand beneath the students vanished. The academy saw Udrik crawl from the broken balcony while his chosen victims returned to formation. The warden roared without a mouth. All 6 chains turned toward me. It had found the competing bank. I stood in the center of the 10 ward stones. My hidden balance was only 1 level, but the class itself had become the most valuable thing in the yard. "Final pattern," I called. Dargo released the western ballista chain. Pavo moved the students behind the Hall of Awakening. Mela ordered every merchant to pull the silver lines tight. Lysa ran toward me. The first chain missed my head. The next 2 wrapped around my arm and waist. Pain erased the yard for a moment. The warden lifted me from the ground. Lysa jumped for the chain, but 2 metal hands knocked her aside. Her sword broke against the black armor. She hit the steps below the golden awakening crystal. The crowd screamed. The warden pulled me toward the crack. My level 1 body could not resist. The class stone began tearing from my palm. I had planned for that. The silver line around my waist ran through the ward stones to the support bolts beneath the awakening crystal. I closed my hand around the chain. Now, Dargo struck the first bolt. The royal captain struck the second. Pavo released all his healing energy into my arm so I could hold on for 1 more breath. The supports broke. The golden crystal fell from the hall. It had swallowed my 600 experience on the first day. Now it struck the warden's back with the weight of 30 years of awakenings. Black armor shattered. A red core appeared inside its chest. Lysa rose with half a sword in her hand. She stepped on the falling crystal, crossed the final chain, and drove the broken blade into the core. The warden caught her around the waist. The red core cracked but did not break. Dargo threw his academy sword. Lysa caught it. She pushed both blades into the same crack. The core broke. 6 chains released me at once. The warden collapsed into black fragments beneath the Hall of Awakening. The last light of sunset passed through the broken roof and struck the arena wall. 300 admission tokens turned from black to bronze. For 1 breath, the academy remained silent. Then the city heard 300 students realize they were still alive. Their shout shook dust from every tower. Pavo reached me first. He used the last of his borrowed strength to close the wound in my arm. Lisa dropped beside us and held my face between both hands. You were supposed to stay behind me. The chain disagreed. She laughed once, then pressed her forehead against mine while the trade crystals carried the moment across the city. The task succeeded. 72 lent levels left my 3 allies. 300 returned to the bank. With the one I had kept, my balance became 301. Battle experience remained with the borrowers. Lisa rose from 12 to 20, Dargo from 8 to 12, and Pavo from 5 to 9. My class changed again. The quiet voice named me a heavenly investor. I remained level 1. The single rule remained unbroken inside my own class. Every borrower still had to choose. Every investment still needed a real task. Every failure could still destroy my capital. Only the scale had changed. I could now offer one shared contract to an entire willing organization. Naira stood beside the black scroll. The final line of sunlight was disappearing. Payment, she said. I transferred 100 levels before midnight. My balance fell from 301 to 201. The overdue installment vanished. The ancient clause moved ownership of the remaining debt, the academy land, and every attached token to me. Nira placed the scroll in my hand. Before the entire academy, I removed all 300 souls from the collateral. Bronze tokens broke open and fell from the students' wrists. Nobody owed me a level. Nobody owed me a soul. Udrik descended from his ruined tower with 2 guards beside him. The academy seal left his robe and appeared on the debt scroll in my hand. He had lost his office, his tower, and the people he had tried to sell. Zoran demanded that the royal office seize the scroll. Naira looked at him. The transfer is lawful. The royal captain removed Zoran's red badge before 5,000 city witnesses. Zoran had arrived in a driverless coach with hundreds of soul contracts. He left on foot between 2 officers while students covered every public board with the record of his arena beast. Dargo climbed onto the steps and admitted that he had accepted my wolf score, targeted Lysa's scholarship, and laughed at my expulsion. Then he bowed before the crowd. I cannot buy back what I did, he said. I will repay it through work, if Aaron accepts. I gave him a place on the defense team and no special rank. He accepted. The guild valued the warden's core at 500 gold. After repairs and emergency advances, our reserve became 350 gold. The academy remained under my debt seal until a public audit replaced Udrik's hidden contracts. In 5 days, I had moved from no money to 350 gold, from 6 stored levels to 201, and from an expelled failure to the lawful holder of the academy charter. My personal level remained 1. That part pleased me. The next morning, we ate breakfast at the headmaster's long dining table. Nobody sat in Udrik's old chair. We moved it to the wall and placed the debt scroll there instead. The cook served fresh bread, butter, fried eggs, thick sausage, and apples cooked with cinnamon. Pavo stacked 3 eggs on 1 slice of bread and claimed level 9 required architecture. Mela calculated the cost of rebuilding the awakening hall. Dargo ate quietly beside his sister. Nira stood near the window, still refusing food. Lisa sat beside me. Under the table, her hand found mine. You own an academy, she said. It owns several debts. You are impossible. I am level 1. She turned my face toward hers and kissed me. It was brief, warm, and impossible to calculate. Pavo dropped an egg. Mela did not look up from her ledger. Dargo suddenly found the sausage very interesting. For 1 quiet minute, victory tasted like butter, cinnamon, and hot bread. Then, Naira opened the window. The morning sky turned black. Red contract marks appeared above the city, then beyond it. They covered the horizon in every direction. There were marks over guilds, temples, fortresses, and roads. More appeared until the clouds looked chained together. Naira said the academy had been the smallest account held by the first creditor. The mark above the distant royal palace opened like a red eye. My class read the balance. The crown owed 1 million levels. Payment was due in 7 days.